Hey gang, Evan Sutton here. I'm the senior sound design instructor here at Dubspot in New York City as well as online. Today we're going to talk about FM8. We're going to make an awesome bass that has some vocal characteristics to it. We're going to do it in a hip-hop context today. I'm going back in time to some 90s style hip-hop a la Timbaland and Missy Elliott. We're going to have a lot of fun with this one, so get in here. Let's do this. Alright, so let's take a listen to the bass that we're going to try and make. I put together a little hip-hop beat here. This is FM8. This is what's providing the bass line, okay? Alright, here's the bass on its own. Alright. So there are a lot of different sounds that we can make with FM8. This is a quirky kind of sound that I really like. It has some nice vocal qualities to it. It's got a couple of different resonant peaks that move around, and so it gives it a very unique vocal-like sound. So let's talk about how to make this bass. So I'm going to create a new sound in FM8 here, and I'm going to start out like I do with many of my sounds. I'll show you a little trick, one of my favorites. I'm going to open up the spectrum here, and I'm going to take E, and I'm going to pass it into F, and what E is now doing is it's actually modulating the frequency of F. Now, modulate is just a fancy word for change, so it's just going to be moving the frequency or the pitch of F very, very quickly. See, right now it's a control signal. If we put it down here into the audio bus, this is the mixer down here in FM8, it's an audio signal. Control signal, audio signal. Okay? So we're using this thing in sort of a modular setting, and we're plugging it into F, and we're creating some extra sidebands. When we do frequency modulation, we're actually creating these harmonic textures. It's very, very interesting. We get all of these different harmonics that come from modulating different waves with each other. If we take a look at the spectrum down here, it's going to show you the harmonics that you're using as well as what the waveform looks like, the resultant waveform. And if you're an Ableton Live user, you've seen a similar spectrum display in Operator as well as the waveform. You can take the waveforms out of Operator in Ableton and use them in other instruments. That's really cool. So I like to start out here by taking two sine waves. Both E and F are oscillators, and they're what we call an operator because it has an amplitude envelope along with the oscillator in each of these. So I'm going to pass E into F. We'll go into the spectrum here, and I'm going to watch the waveform, and I'm going to patch E into F, and then I'm going to use a little bit of feedback, which is just taking the signal out of an oscillator and putting it back into itself to create a little sawtooth wave. And to me, that's a lot of fun. So we're just going to do this. We don't want to create any real distortion, but we're just going to get kind of close. This is a place that I like to start because it gives me a good selection of upper harmonics. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. It gives me a nice selection of upper harmonics, and I can start with my modulation to kind of get an idea of what my bass is going to sound like, or any sound that I'm making. So let's take a listen to this. And here it is as I pull this amplitude down. This is called the index of modulation. This is the amount of E that we're passing into F, and then here's the feedback. Okay, we can make it a little brighter. Alright, so there's a simple sawtooth wave. It's not the greatest sawtooth ever, but it gives us a nice precedent, and here's why. With FM, it's actually the opposite of subtractive synthesis in a lot of ways. With most of the synthesizers that we use these days, it tends to be a subtractive method, meaning we're taking a sound and we're chipping away at it using filters and envelopes and things like that in order to sculpt our sound. With frequency modulation, we're actually building a sound on the fly, and it's being created right before our eyes. It's this sort of alchemy that I really enjoy. So both E and F are still sine waves right now, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to move the envelope for E. And we can create modulation over time by changing the amplitude of E over time. Alright, so now what we can do is we can go ahead and start playing with the exact timing that we want. That's always a nice thing to do. So I'll just listen to the bass line that I have in there. It's kind of low for this. We'll deal with this, but we want to make it sound nice. Okay, we're doing alright. I'm hearing some clicking. That's the end of F's amp envelope. So we can get a little smoother here. Alright. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to start playing with some different types of waves. I'm going to go to F, and I'm going to try opening up one of the formant waves. Let's listen to this by itself. I'm going to unplug E from F. Let's listen to the formant wave. It has kind of a vowel-like quality. It's very interesting. It's really nice how we can get some different resonant peaks going. Formant doesn't always mean vowel. It just means a resonant peak, a characteristic of the sound, like a timbral footprint. But we do use formants to create vowel-like sounds with synthesizers. So I'm just going to go ahead and patch this in here just a little bit. And remember, as we bring in waves that have more harmonics than the original sine wave we were using, we're going to get more out of the synthesizer when we do frequency modulation. It's going to react in a little bit more of a bright way, so we can kind of pull down on our feedback for a moment. Okay. So we're kind of in the ballpark a little bit, but we want it to be nice and robust, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to add some feedback to this here just to get some more upper harmonics happening. And I'm also going to change the ratio of operator F. Now this is the tuning of this operator, and we're just going up the harmonic series here. So if we listen to it without E, okay, we're going up over an octave. All right, and this is going up the harmonic series here, and the steps actually change every time you go up. And so now let's go ahead and take a listen to this. So big difference as we change the sound. And even though we're making a bass, I want to have a really detailed top end of the sound. That's going to draw the ear downward and let us really take in that bass. And I've got a nice little trick that's actually really simple for bringing up the bass towards the end. But what we want to do now is kind of make this thing perfect for what it is. So let's go ahead over here now, and I'm actually going to go to E, and let's try a different wave for E. I'm going to go over to the sine wave, and let's change it to a sawtooth. That's really going to bring out a lot of the harmonics in that formant wave. Ooh. I like that. And as we push up the index, it gets a little more severe, and we can make it even deeper. Ooh, yeah. You can experiment a little bit with it. And you can hear it's that downward trajectory there that's really getting us a lot of nice sound. So we just want to get the timing of the envelope right here. That's nice. The biggest thing for the musical context that you put a sound in is to change the timing of it and to make sure that it fits rhythmically. That's going to really go a long way to making your sound fit within the piece. So that's good. I like that and everything. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to add a little bit of velocity sensitivity to both E and F. And what that's going to do is it's going to make it so that as we hit the key harder, the amplitude of the operator goes up, thus changing the sound, changing the overall volume in the case of F, but changing the timbre with E. Remember, E is a control signal. It's actually what's controlling sort of the brightness of things and how that changes over time. So let's listen to it with a little bit of velocity control thrown in there. Ooh, yeah. That's a little heavy. So I'll pull this back just to make sure it all fits, but that's pretty good. I like that. I'm a great big fan of that. And now let's add some bass. Okay, so we've got this thing tuned up right, and let's just add operator D in here and just drop it into the bottom. I really like just to add a little sub to the bottom of things here. When you have a sound like this, it's nice to have a really detailed top end, but remember with FM8, we have really a handful of different synthesizers here. You could think of it that way, as if you're layering different synthesizer sounds. So here is our sub, and it can be totally independent of the modulation going on between E and F. E and F have their own little thing happening. They're in a committed relationship. D doesn't need to hone in there, but D can be friends with them and sort of give it some bass there. And so leaving it at the ratio of 1 keeps it down nice and low because we put F all the way up at 3. So we've got it adding some nice bottom end, and we just tighten up that envelope and make sure that we're all in the right spot. All right, so now we've got our basic sound. Let's take a listen to it in context. All right, it's pretty good. It's not quite robust enough. It's not doing everything that I want it to. And this song is like totally unmixed. It's just a nice little loop that I threw together. But we want our sounds to really fit together nicely even before we hit the mix process. And this isn't quite fitting in the way I want it to. So what we're going to do is go over to the master section, and what we can do in here is actually add some depth to the sound. I'm going to turn up the number of voices to around 4, and what this is going to do is actually just make little copies of each note that is hit, and I'm going to put this on mono so that only one note can be played at a time. Now, whenever I hit a key, we're actually going to hear 4 separate notes being played at a time. You can hear it getting slightly quieter as I turn the voices down. Now, why would we just make a billion copies of that, Evan? That sounds so dumb. Well, we can detune each one of those voices to create a little bit of a chorusing effect and really thicken the sound. And we can also use this panning function, which I love, to spread those voices out across the stereo field. So we've got one on the left, one towards the middle, another towards the middle on the right, and then one on the right. And we can really hear this thing in stereo. Let's take a listen. Here's without the panning. All right, and then here's with panning. Whoa! And that's really going to spread it out. It's going to make it nice and large. You don't have to do the stereo panning thing, but I love using that stereo field. We're really creating a nice big fantasy there. And the last thing I'm going to do is just add a little bit of portamento. We turn portamento on. It's going to glide between pitches like so. We can adjust the time here. I'm going to turn it down since this is kind of a quick bass line, and I'm going to leave the auto key on. Now what the auto key does is make it so that only overlapping notes will glide. So if I hit notes separately, then they won't glide. If I overlap them, then they will glide. And this mono button is going to ensure that we don't hear more than one note overlapping. As soon as I hit a new one, it's going to replace the old note. Okay, so let's take a listen to what this sounds like now. Ooh, that's kind of nice. We'll make final adjustments to the timing of the envelope. There we go. Ooh, yeah. Okay, now let's take a listen to it in context. There we go. I like that. Yeah. All right, so we got a nice sounding FM vocal style bass here. This can be used in a lot of different types of music. It's one of my favorite sounds. This one goes all the way from Daft Punk to dubstep. There's a lot of really cool things that can be done with this kind of sound, and you can always expand on this and add more things, use looping envelopes, use LFOs, add mod wheel. It's up to you to then make this thing even more expressive and fit within your musical vision. So I hope you had fun with this one. This is Evan Sutton, also known as Astrolith. You can catch me at astrolith.net. Check out some of my music, and I have more tutorials there as well as many others on the Dubspot YouTube channel. And stay tuned for more.
Welcome to Dubspot. We believe in providing you hands-on experience right away. Whether you're completely new to music and want to turn the sounds in your head into a musical reality, or you're an experienced artist looking to refine your skills and add new tools to your arsenal, we're ready to meet you at your level. For students of all ages, all levels, and all styles of music, Dubspot is here to help you achieve your goals. With course offerings both online wherever you are and at our school in the heart of New York City, we are ready to guide you through the next phase of your musical transformation. Whether you want to produce music, DJ, or do both, you've come to the right place. Come explore Dubspot for yourself. Become a part of our community and make music.